I'm very excited today because I have a good friend, someone who's helped me massively with my business, international best-selling author, illustrious leader of one of the most popular Facebook groups, Birdman of the Southwest, Dan Meredith.
Good morning, Hayley. Thank you for that unique introduction.
morning.
Thank you.
Before we start properly, should we explain a little bit about the Birdman of the Southwest?
Yeah, so I've done quite a lot of podcasts over the years. I have a pretty decent setup here, and as you can see, I've got the bundled for free with you headphones that come with your iPhone. Yours truly has a thing for birds, feathered kind in this instance, and Hayley will know this because we've hung out in Brighton together when I used to live there. I like seagulls. I've always liked seagulls. I just think they're cool. I spent one whole summer in Brighton documenting baby seagulls' birth to flight for 3 months or so. I think I was talking about, or 2 months or so. So anyway, short version is where I live now is on the waterfront, and there are seagulls around, and I'm at the top, and they can be quite chatty in the morning, and they've been very chatty lately, and they have decided to nest upon my roof. And then the other day I discovered a mini seagull who I've christened Dave in a little gully in between where I live, and so there's a little wall separating us, and he was kind of quite bemused at this large ape creature suddenly looming over the top. His parents are, as you would expect, very protective, and they like to try and dive bomb me with shit whenever I go out into my own garden. I went away the other day, and then there's 3 of them in there now. So there's then 3 medium-sized baby seagulls, both their parents. So I think they're going to be good. But if you do hear a lot of squawking, I have fed them this morning. I've had a conversation with them. I've told them just to shut up. I said, here's some chicken. Relax. Just chill. Leave me alone. So fingers crossed you will not hear the cacophony of seagulls during this recording. But I've done my best. And so I said, as I said to Hayley, so hopefully the noise is okay. I love podcasts myself. There's nothing worse than shitty audio. But I've got all my doors closed. It's hot as hell, and there's a fan over there, which I hope isn't going to do it. So I'm trying to maintain the ability to deliver quality content without sweating myself into oblivion.
I did not know seagulls ate chicken.
They eat anything.
Like cannibalism, or?
Yeah, well, they will eat anything. I mean, obviously, if you see them raiding the bins, they'll go through some KFC or some fried chicken. But I popped my head out the other day because there's a lot of noise. And I think they had some sort of rodent that they were all tucking into. And I was like, oh, this is delightful. So, yeah, Mum and Dad have brought back some treats up here. And I'm just like, yes. So,
lovely.
Yes.
A seagull once swooped down and pinched the sausage out of my hot dog in Brighton.
Yeah, I've seen that happen.
With a limp, empty bun.
I'm not going there. I'm not picking that bait up. I'm not picking up a bait of you not having a sausage and a sad bun. I'm not doing it. Not doing
it. Damn. Cool. So we'll hope that Dave and his siblings stay quiet for today. So for maybe there's a few people listening who don't know who you are. Can you tell us a little bit about your business and how and why you started it?
Yeah, so I'm currently 42 as of recording this. I started it, I went online, I believe at 33. It's all a bit of a blur, really. I've had multiple, that's not what I've had a selection of careers, but it's predominantly been in either the corporate space, headhunting, consulting, advertising, marketing, media, sort of big corporate stuff, or fitness, where I've been a personal trainer. I've run gyms. I was a director of a fitness business, big national chain. So that's the sort of 2 I sort of flip-flop from. My first business was a gym, which I still have, which is still going to this day. That was my first business. And then I needed, there was some downtime, as there is often with PT in the day. And I thought, being quite entrepreneurial, I thought, how can I use that downtime more effectively? What could I do to make some money? I heard about something called copywriting, which is not the little C that you see on products and things like that. It is the ability to write compelling words that sell, essentially. And I saw a job offer through someone I was following to write emails for $30,000 a year. I thought, well, that's fucking crazy. Like $30,000 to, there they are, to write emails. And I ended up not getting the job, but I became very good friends with the person who ran that business. I ended up going into his business sort of like as a trainee funnel builder and copywriter and all this kind of stuff, and then ended up becoming one of his main coaches and ended up sort of co-running the mastermind. I'm just good at the coaching stuff. Yeah. So I grew a pretty big marketing, copywriting, ads agency those first few years, and then people kept asking me, and I had no intention to coach or to do anything. There was not a plan, but people kept asking me, when are you going to sell something? When are you going to teach us? And I was just like, okay, well, back at the time, I'd moved and where I was living. So I used to be in headhunting and recruitment. So I was pretty good at growing and scaling businesses and stuff, and obviously bringing people in to do that. I'd got myself down to the point where I was only working really a few hours a week, off the back of, 5 a.m. to midnight kind of days for a couple of years. That parlayed into a little bit of a drink hobby. So, nothing wrong with having a couple of drinks at the end of the day. It's quite normal, especially in UK. But a couple of drinks became few drinks, then that became more and more. And I was just drinking every night because I was just bored, to be honest with you. And a little bit, there's a few personal things that I hadn't quite worked out, sort of like using it to kind of, numb myself to some of the things that I had to probably deal with at the time. And I decided to set up a Facebook group called Coffee with Dan. And I thought, I'm very much a man of my word. So if I say I'm going to be somewhere at a time, I've got a real thing about, a bit obsessive about being on time for stuff. So I thought, if I show up in this group every day, like for accountability, 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm not going to get hammered the night before because I will not show up for people. Did a Facebook post saying, look, thinking about starting this Facebook group. This is the plan. Show up in the morning. So basically check in, check out posts is what we used to do. 9 o'clock, and I think it was 2 o'clock, we'd say what we did so far and then go on our merry way. I think 500 people joined that in 2 days, which is ridiculous. It's now about 17, nearly 18,000. That parlayed into a load of other things as well. And then I wrote a book because I was putting a big event on and stuff. I wrote it in 3.5 days. That sounds like it might be a shit book, but I basically didn't sleep. I think I had equivalent of 1 night's sleep in 3 days. I just literally worked, got all the stuff I learned, put it into it. That went crazy. Bestseller on every single platform, multiple times around the world. I think we're over 1 million sales now. We sold 250,000 to Barnes & Noble last year. No, 2 years ago. So that kind of gave me a big bump. I was number 1 on all of Audible for a while, number 1 on business, number 1 on entrepreneurship. Yeah, pretty nuts. So but the main thing I love about that is it's helped a lot of people. Lots of people who've read and listened to the book have not read books before, don't like reading, have found other sort of style of books very dry. Obviously, there's a handful of people who've get their one star who just doesn't like it, which is fine. They pay their money, they're allowed their opinion. But it's changed hundreds of thousands of people's lives, which is really cool. And it's also provided me a great life, a great income. I have a special needs sister whose future would have been in the hands of a council or whatever, something like that, for some of her specialized care. So I'm in a position where I'm able to sort of provide for that. So that's it. Oh, that was long, wasn't it? You did. So yeah, that's it.
A little shout out to Anna. Hi, Anna.
That's my sister, by the way. Spud, I want to call her.
I won't call her Spud. I'll call her Anna. So obviously that's like quite a journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I really like about your journey, and in particular, a lot of the things that you talk about online, are you are really open about your health.
Yep.
And I think that puts you in a minority because obviously a lot of online gurus. I know you're not one of the gurus.
I would never called such a thing.
But many people, a lot of business owners will not talk about their health online. I've come across that issue, because that's who I'm trying to help. And I actually did a poll in LinkedIn and on Facebook, and a lot of people said they don't want to look weak in front of their competitors. doctors and stuff like that. So why are you so open about your health? And secondly, obviously it hasn't put you at a disadvantage. And do you think more people should kind of normalize chatting about the effects of business on their health?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, so look, my background, I said I was in the fitness space before this, I knew what to do. I got a degree in sports and nutrition back in the day. Obviously, the things have advanced a lot since those days. But quite frankly, I made a decision, and this was my choice, where I said I was prepared to make sacrifices and I would see where the chips would fall. So I basically said to myself, well, look, I've got to make sure I provide something for my sister in the future. And I wanted a good life myself, not just purely altruistic. There was a personal reason and an altruistic reason. And I effectively quit caring about a lot of things that I probably shouldn't have done. I don't regret having done it, but it was not smart on reflection. So for me, I was very honest, because people said you got to where you were quite quickly. And I was like, yeah, but I also didn't sleep. I lived off caffeine. I lived off nootropics. My drinking was excessive. I ate shit, not literal shit, but, crappier food. I would rely on things like, takeaways and quick stuff because I was working all day long. I had a pot, one of those old school, that's in like a films in America, those big pots of coffee. And I'd go through 2 of those a day.
Wow.
I was living off nootropics and just taking anything to kind of keep me going. And yeah, it definitely affected some of my physical health stuff. I was also into like powerlifting. I was very strong. So, I was kind of lifting big weights. But I look back at pictures of me and, you can clearly see that I've got some muscle there. But fuck me, I had some fat as well. And quite frankly, I just looked like I was ready to burst, kind of clearly high blood pressure. I wasn't sleeping. My mental health wasn't fantastic, but I ground it out. And it's one of those things. And to the point where, it was close to, if I didn't make some changes, it would have finished me off. I had a few little warning signs and a few trips to the hospital, which were kind of a little bit, but it wasn't scary. It was just kind of like, oh, is this where I am now? So, but I realized that, I could make changes and I knew it wasn't going to be quick. My whole ethos is showing up daily and doing things over time. And I just, I know that any sort of transformation or change was going to do it. And I wanted to share because a lot of people talk about making changes. I've done the same, I've learned the hard way. I'd say now that's more my philosophy, but then I'd be like, go all in, do all the things. And I would do the same thing over and over again. I think a lot of us do this as we get older. We still think we have the body and the resilience of our 20s. And that's not the case. I jumped straight into a routine. I'd start doing, like 4 or 5 spinning sessions in the morning, hitting the weights every night, eating super clean. And then I'd have one day where I'd be stressed and I'd just fucking snort 2 pizzas back to back, or I'd get injured because I just, would like, nah, fuck all this warm up nonsense. I'm just going to go back in like I used to. And yeah, it was always, best intentions, but there would always be a setback. So I decided to kind of reach out, to, you were one of the people I've reached out to over the years to get that back on track in a way that was sustainable. And I've pretty much maintained that now for like 2+ years.
Yeah. You're probably the healthiest now that you've since I've known you anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the smallest jeans since my 20s that I'm in right now. I'm, my resting heart rate is under 60. I sleep well. I don't apparently, anyone watching this can troll me otherwise. I don't apparently look my age, which is good. I could get mistakes on sort of like mid-late 30s as opposed to early 40s, which is nice. My skin's better. Everything works well. I feel good. And I make, it's not on the mind side of things. It's not like I'm always right now, but I think clearer. I'm more able to make effective decisions. I'm less controlled by anything emotional, and I'm wrong less often. So it's not about being right. I'm wrong less often. And I've shared that. One of my things has always been about sharing the good and the bad, and I would say, I'm going to do this thing. And then I would fuck up, but I would never hide it. I'm like, come off the way. It's just a case of, I was very open and honest with people. And the more, for me, with sort of a decent sized following, what I found is the more honest and open I am with people. And you're right, you wouldn't get people publicly saying stuff, but my DMs and my inboxes would get really chatty because there's a lot of people who are like, I've struggled with this, I don't do that, I can't do, So yeah, I think by being open enough to share it, it's inspired other people to make changes. Mainly business is my day-to-day, but obviously with the physical side of things, that's also, a lot of people have, not drinking on the head, for example. And bear in mind, I'm not one of those pious, you can't drink. I've gone on dates and stuff before, and they'll be like, oh, can I drink around you? And it's like, do you know what? I'm probably not going to dive over you to grab your G&T. I think you're fine. I've even had people, and it's very sweet. People say when they're cooking for me, and they're like, "Oh God, there's wine in this recipe," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm probably not going to snort a load of beef juice with wine in you. You're okay. It's all right." But yeah, and I think by being honest and open, it encourages other people to drink. They're not alone. Plenty of other people doing it, and I'd say it's more on the male side of things. From I've noticed, a lot of men don't want to admit failure or doing things wrong, but realistically, it's, especially online, well, you post something, you tell someone about it, in a couple of days, it's forgotten. So it's no biggie. That answers your question in a very roundabout way. I went off on, but for any of you listening, if you've never heard of it, I have these things called tangents. So I tend to I take the question, then I'll go off on a way. So I hope there was some value in that 7 minutes of me talking or whatever it was.
It's good. It makes my job a lot easier.
Good.
Why do you think, because obviously you've mentioned there that improving your health, it wasn't just a physical thing, your cognitive ability, in terms of like your clarity and probably, better able to make really good decisions and stuff like that. Why do you think so many people don't draw that, join the dots between, actually, if I look after my shit, my business gets better because I can think better and make better decisions and be more present with people, communicate better. But people just don't seem to make that connection.
No one talks about it. Hardly. I mean, you do. But most people in the fitness, nutrition space who aren't of your caliber. So there's some great people there. I'm not pointing fingers at anyone. What you'll often find is it was kind of like when I used to work as a personal trainer, people would want the physique changes, they want the abdominals, the fat loss, and they'd often say, I want to feel better as well. But they wouldn't really give any credit to what that is. You don't know what you don't know. So often it was the physical first. For me, I wanted to lose weight. I dropped, I think, like 20 something kilos now. For me, it was purely aesthetic. I wanted to look better. There's a certain type of lady that I like. They also enjoy lifting weights and things. And I thought, well, I've got to meet them at least halfway. I look like, I think my favorite phrase one of my friends said, he says, you're like 10 pound of shit in a 7 pound bag. And I was like, awesome. So, being silly there, but, I wanted to, look better as well. Because like I said, when I made sacrifices, that was not only my physical health, mental health, that was relationships, that was free time and hobbies and friends. I kind of was like, right, I'm going all in. So I kind of want, I always said I'm going to get to a point where I could then basically, I don't advise this, but just as, I found this is something that I did. I went all in on something, knowing that there was going to be some damage done along the way to myself. And I said, right, I'll get to a point where I'm successful enough that I could then start outsourcing and like undo all the work I did, which is like working with you and other coaches and trainers and, meal preps and all this kind of stuff over the years. But it's like, do I advise it? No. Would I change it? No. But it worked for me. But the mental side of things was just something you just experience as you go along. So as again, I eat better. I eat mostly clean now with, but by clean, I know there's lots of misnomers. What I mean, I try and eat as least processed as possible.
Yeah, just lots of good
quality. Yeah, the less processed food I eat, the better I feel. But even then, when I will have I have like days off, I track all my macros. I know what I'm doing. I track all my steps and my sleep and all that kind of stuff. But it's not obsessive. I just know what to eat. And I've got wiggle room as well. I can still enjoy, the pizzas and the burgers, but I tend to now make better choices with that as well. So even though I'm eating, relatively good, nutritious, nutrient dense food throughout the week, if I want to have a pizza and stuff, I know I've got the macros available to keep me, my sustained kind of level that I'm at. But I'll be, instead of just going, right, I'm just going to get Domino, nothing against Domino's, but like, but I would generally feel a bit after that. I will generally make better choices. So I'll get better quality food. So I'll get, a better quality pizza, a better quality burger, a better quality ice cream. So I still enjoy my stuff, but instead of just going volume, which it was before, eat yourself happy till I feel sick. And I'd sometimes be sick, I'd eat too much, like a fucking dog. Now I just make better, and I don't have that need to binge anymore and overeat because I, want to. It's like, oh, I've got a free evening, I'm gonna go crazy. Now it's like I'll have, a pizza and a couple of scoops of ice cream. And before I might feel bad about stepping off the, on that, and then I go that. Now I'm like, do you know what? I had a great night last night. I was with my friends. We enjoyed food together. It was social. That's worth a modest, tiny few grams of weight gain that it may have been off the back of it. But it's that whole. But everything, I just think better off it. My insides feel better. I sleep better. I'm less moody. I'm not particularly moody anyway, but I'm just more in control of my thoughts, and it's just made a big difference. I tend to be, I think it all ties in. I eat better, therefore I sleep better, therefore I'm more rested, therefore I'm less likely to make silly, snappy decisions and stuff like that, or based on emotion because I'm tired or because I'm hungry as well. I've done very extreme diets as well where I just had no energy to do my job, or I was just snappy because I was fucking starving. So it all ties in nicely. I see it more as, it's like my now philosophy is, this is the vessel I've got left. If I look after it, it'll do me good. I'm a huge fan of motorbikes. I've got a few of them. I look after my bikes. I put in good oil. I put in good petrol. I make sure they're serviced all the time, and it works. And it gives me lots of fun. And it's just the same principle I use after my body. More good stuff I put in, within reason, with a little bit of wiggle room for fun, everything trends upwards.
Yeah, it's so amazing for me to hear you talk about balance, because I remember when we worked together, I remember one of the things that you said to me was like, tell me how many of these chicken wings I can have for all of my calories.
I did want to live off chicken wings at the time. I'd like it just made me laugh.
But I think that's quite common with business owners, because you talked then about how you've become so successful in a short amount of time by being extreme, by just doing more extreme, faster, go bigger, and more extreme behaviors. And I think a lot of business owners have that personality, and then to try and get people to realize that's your MO for your business and that's how you've been successful, but actually that you can't apply that to your health. It doesn't work. So it's trying to that mindset shift between, well, that's how I normally get success, but actually I can't get success.
You can't apply that to everything. I mean, as well, I will say this as well. When I did that with the business stuff, it was a perfect storm for me. I was in my early 30s. My partner at the time, she was a dancer, so she traveled a lot. So I had a lot of time to do it, to work. No kids, bar my sister, no real dependents or anything. So I said, well, I'm never going to get this opportunity again. So I'm going to give it my all. But applying those principles to other parts of my life just didn't work. Can't go all in on something most of the time. I've learned this the hard way. For example, it's like when I've dated in the past and stuff, I've met someone like, right, we're doing this or not, and it's like, hey, we just hung out for a couple of times, Dan, because I just can't. My philosophy is more of a case of I can't be fucked. Let's just get on with it. What we're doing. What's the numbers? What's the deadline? Why we, not talk about relationships. It's just everything. No. This is not. This is like general business life. Like what we're doing. When is it done by? What's the end date? What's the goal? What's the numbers? In our case, what's the number I need to eat to be pretty? I would say. And obviously I've learned those numbers over the years. What works for me, but it is everything now is sustainable. Like if I stay where I am right now, I'm pretty fucking happy with that.
Yeah, no, I can see you're much happier, definitely. So obviously you talked about that, you used that kind of method to be successful in your business. And I think, again, you're quite unique in the fact that you made a decision that, right, I'm going to use that method, but there's going to come a point where I know it's going to have to change. Whereas a lot of people who come to me are always saying, oh, after this launch, I'll do this, or I'll keep working these 14-hour days after the next project. But then the end of that comes, and then there's always something else and something else and something else. So they never escape from that. Whereas you managed to say, right, draw a line and say, I've used this, now I can't sustain that because it's not healthy. So what was that point that you made that decision, or what was it that made you think, right, okay, this is the time that I need to stop doing stuff?
I mean, to be honest, I remember sitting down at my mum's. My mum and dad are still together. My dad passed away a couple of years ago, and actually being able to train and stay focused and eat well during a really stressful time actually allowed me to be a good son to my dad in his final days. I'm not just throwing that in there for sake of it. As a case of, I didn't, it's something that I needed. I was well, I'd say I was doing a bit of emotional eating then, but I kind of was, eating as good as I could during a pandemic. Definitely helped me during some troubling times as well. It just felt better. But for me, back in the day, it was, I sat down and I literally looked left, and there's a mirror there, and my gut was just there. And then I thought to myself, God, imagine getting fucked by that. And I was just thinking to myself, that's not a treat, is it? Bear in mind, I am not being, just want to make it super clear, not being sizist. You can do whatever you want. Everyone deserves love and intimacy, and that size is irrelevant. But for me personally, I felt minging, and I just thought I don't look good. Yeah. And the other thing is, I felt it was incongruent with my brand, because I felt my brand is about getting shit done. It's about doing what you say you can do. And I was thinking, right, well, I've done. Why am I not congruent with that there? Why can't I get that element of the shit done? Yeah. So I was very honest with myself, and I said, well, look, I had a big push. Obviously, it was going to be a big push. It's going to be a big tour, but then the pandemic kicked in. So I thought to myself, not only if I ate better and looked after myself, would I be able to sustain the duration of the traveling, but I was also going to be on stage. Yeah. And I saw some pictures of me on stage before, and from if I knew the camera was on me, it was okay. But a couple of say people taking photos up at you on stage, I was like, fucking hell. And I just didn't feel it was congruent with my brand. So I am not I'm very much a case of I want everyone in my world to be happy. And if you're happy, you can look how you want, be how you want, do it. It's super cool. Happy for you. But for me, I was unhappy with how I looked. And the fact is, I had a brand talking about getting shit done. I come from the fitness industry. Although I still owned a gym, and I thought this is not very, very congruent with my message. And I felt it was important to make that as well. So that was the kind of literally looking over at myself and just going, oh, what's that? Yeah. Was not pretty.
And I think it's not, like you say, it's not just about a physical thing, is it? Because I know, when we worked together, you were going to do Expert Empires, weren't you?
Yeah,
so you
that's right. Yeah, I had to be on stage for that.
Yeah, and I think just knowing, going up on stage and knowing that, I've been looking after myself kind of thing, even if you weren't, the weight you wanted to be or whatever, or, anyone else, just that self-esteem that you've got from knowing, hey, I'm doing all the shit that I need to do to take care of myself. It comes across when you talk. It
bleeds into everything. And I'll just say, look, if anyone's listening and there's thinking, first of all, thinking I'm a bit of a knob, you're allowed to. That's the beauty of having an opinion. But I've just been honest today on why I did some of the things that I did, and we're focusing on them. But for me, I'm a pretty confident person. But that's something I've worked on, not naturally. I'm naturally an introvert, and I've kind of trained myself to be more extroverted and put myself out there more over time. But how I feel walking into meetings, if I meet people, I was at a wedding at the weekend, when I, if I meet a new social group of people, I feel good. There's people with, six packs and veins all over them and all that kind of stuff. But I look in the mirror. I'm really happy what I present. And do you know what I can walk into? This may sound really small to some people, but it's something that I've always struggled with. I've got very big legs. I was a rugby player for a long time. I was a power lifter. Love squats. Always been a big fan of squats, squats and deadlifts, all that kind of stuff. But I used to kid myself that I couldn't get jeans to fit because of my big legs. And my legs are big. They are, large thighs. But I used to have to get 38 and 40-inch trousers to not only get my legs in, but also the other padding that I'd accumulated. This may sound really small to some people, and I think maybe some of the ladies listening might identify this a bit more, but I could walk into a shop and I could get what I call people clothes. And I used to have to get a lot of my jeans online because they would never stock the bigger sizes. So I'd have to get them online. And honestly, when I say I dreaded, a lot of guys fucking hate shopping anyway, and especially jean shopping. Men are just don't fucking want to do this. Do not want to do this. But I used to dread it. I used to fucking dread it. So I was I'd get it up and I'd get it, and then I'd get that point of halfway up and I'll be like, for fuck's sake. And then I just get hot and annoyed and angry and all this kind of stuff. Now, I mean, I literally I wear the same outfit everywhere I go. It's black t-shirt, blue jeans, either black trainers or brown boots. I wear the same fucking shit all the time. I'm a large now in my t-shirt, which is the first time since my 20s. And I now can walk into, so I've never worn like fitted jeans. I can go, so the brand I like, Hugo Boss, not being a wanker, just those jeans, they tend to fit guys who lift a bit quite well. They're quite good stuff. And I can get 34 off the shelf and I don't even need to try them on. I know a 34 fits me. That's it. Something I have not been able to do for, I'm going to say 15 plus years.
Wow. But that is a huge thing, I think. And I actually think it's not just women, because I hear so many of my clients say, I could go into a shop and just know that I can pick up anything and it'll look all right on me. And even, I remember Zach saying, he's lost 5 stone and he said almost exactly the same words as you. Like, I can just like buy normal person clothes in a normal shop. It's quite a big thing.
It is. And it's just, again, my whole life is like, I try and make my life as simple as possible. And starting this process, with you and then continuing it further, a lot of it was about removing. I had to remove things from my life and make space to make it happen. Like it's a case of, I had to change my diary, make my plan. So I could actually have time to, again, I came from that school where you just trained loads, and nutrition was like, that's just, try and eat vaguely healthy, like get a few carrots in or something, you'll be fine. Whereas actually now, I maintain the muscle mass I've got really easily. And as long as my nutrition's on point, it's so much easier to do it with food than it is with training. I haven't got time, or I haven't got the body or the hip anymore to train for like 2-3 hours a day, which I used to be able to do. I used to do that sort of thing. I don't want to do that now. I'm still fit and healthy and like lifting, but it's a case of, if I watch what I put in my mouth, it makes the whole process so much easier.
It does. And that's, like you say, that's the thing that not many people want to pay attention to, because they like all the like sexy stuff, like lifting heavy weights and things.
Which is cool. I mean, for me, I'd say now the gym, I used to use the gym as my immediate, for example, I'd wear a MyZone belt and I would always try and, look at my calories burnt, and I would always be looking at my steps, and then I'd be working out how many calories, I was always that. Whereas now I know if I got the nutrition side relatively dialed in, again, not perfect. If it's pretty much on point most of the time, I'm good. I'm not obsessed by it. I don't feel guilty. The other day I'd had just a fucking brilliant week, and I thought I'm going to go get half a liter of ice cream from this amazing ice cream shop. And I didn't feel one fucking bit guilty at all. I was like, do you know what? I want it. I know food as a reward is not necessarily a good thing, but I was like, do you know what? It's a hot day. It's the best ice cream I can find. I'm going to go sit on my balcony and eat that. And it was delicious. Yeah. I had a great time. I felt fucking no badness about it at all.
Exactly. And I don't think it's not necessarily a reward, is it? Because it's the experience as well, isn't it? Sitting on your balcony, like appreciating that you've had a great week and whatever. So, I think that's a really healthy attitude towards food, which is a massive change, isn't it?
I know. I mean, it's definitely made a big difference getting that dialed in. I mean, now, obviously this may not be appropriate for everyone, but now I kind of have a really good meal prep company that I use. It makes it simple for me. But even then, I've got enough that covers, the protein requirements I need, the good energy that I need. And there's still like 500-600 calories a day of wiggle room. So I can either make something healthy or I can bank it all and have a fun Friday. Or if I just want, I go for a little walk every night. Every night, I often have one scoop of ice cream. I just go around the river, have a scoop, and it's a lovely end to the day. So, I'm in a very good place, with nutrition now, which I haven't been for, if I'm honest, a very long time.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm really happy to hear that.
Thank you.
So something else I want to ask you about. You are, I think, quite well known for your resilience.
Yep.
So I know, obviously, you mentioned your hip there, and obviously you had your little accident on the bike.
Yes,
so you've gotten a bit bashed up lately. So in terms of, I think a lot of people would be really interested to hear about where does that resilience come from, and can you cultivate it, and how do you manage to keep going and keep your resilience kind of topped up?
I mean, if I was to sum it up, the thing that has got me through everything. And there was a 7-month period where, and bear in mind, this first thing might sound a little bit wanky, but I come from very, very little. Mum and dad weren't wealthy. And looking back at my childhood, I realized how many sacrifices they made. You know, mum had 3 jobs. You know, dad worked full-time job, special needs sister who took a lot of care. You know, when you look back, some of the things that, like, for example, my dad, because he'd have a fuel card so he could drive us places for his old job back in the day. And there's this humpback bridge, and he used to just drive me and my sister over it for like an hour either side, just not fast. It wasn't trying to kill us, but it's just, you know, that feeling of, you like a roller coaster feeling. And he said, you know, that's all he could afford to do. Couldn't afford to take us anywhere, but he could take us for a little drive and show us things and take us on walks and stuff. So I say this, so I've always loved going fast. So I love fast. So in the space of, I think in that year, so 2020, I had a couple of jet skis that I used to use with, you know, clients and for fun when I used to live in Brighton. So they got stolen, first of all. So I've had 2 things that I wanted my whole life stolen. Then the day they got stolen was the day I actually found out that my dad had cancer. So I had that call in the morning. Then I got a call from the people who looked after him, said, sorry, they've been stolen. I was like, well, do you know what? Compared to what I've just heard, it's like, fine. Then obviously all of us had corona to deal with. My boys who run my gym, they're like the children that I've never had. I love them dearly. They are the most wonderful gentlemen ever. I'm really proud of the men they've turned up to, but they were obviously panicking. So obviously had to make sure they were secure. And then obviously everyone online. So obviously everyone online was starting to lose their shit. Then unfortunately dad passed in July of that year. I had, let's just say, a very dynamic relationship at that point, which was a little bit challenging. And I thought, this year's been a fucker. This has been hard. And I remember saying to him, well, at least it can't get any worse. Then I got run over. So yeah, on my motorbike, and it was a new bike which I'd bought a couple of days after dad passed as a little thing to kind of cheer me up. And yeah, so obviously my pride and joy got destroyed, as well as, you know, me. I mean, but you know, carbon fibers just way more. Your body will grow new bones and stuff. Carbon fibers really, really fiddly to fit. You can't glue it together. But anyway, so yeah, and I realized, I remember just thinking to myself, if I didn't have, you know, my ability to be resilient, I'd be fucked by now. And honestly, it boils down to routine. Like I do give or take the same things every day, and it just allow. And I have a few little, what would you call them? Little systems, SOPs, you know, things that allow me to, if something goes wrong, okay, I've got a little structure. So for me, it's the same things every day. You know, I'm not going to be one of those cold shower ice wankers. Okay, I mean, it's good. It works. Yeah, you know, look, I'm not. For me, I wake up, I have a cold shower, go for a walk, come back, do a bit of sort of, you know, I wouldn't even call it journaling. I just get what's out of my head. Sometimes it's like a to-do list. Sometimes it's just things I want to do. Sometimes I'm just fucking rage writing. Don't know what it is. Then I start my day. And so that's, I have a similar evening routine as well, which is stretching, an Epsom salt bath, reading with my glasses. So basically a lot of things I do it's just routine. When you got shitty times, routine is your friend. And I will say a lot of people, I mean, holding up my phone here, a lot of people get too reliant on their phone in a bad way, as in it's notifications, it's people pinging you and getting after you. So for me, the best thing that I've done, and I've done this now for 2 years, and I get all my clients to do it, is a 4-week calendar. I've got fuck the Gregorian calendar. It's a pain in the ass. No, it's annoying. Why? I mean, it just does my head in. Why has it got 28? That one's got 30, and that's 31. Shut up. Make it equal. Sorry. I like routine. Routine gives, so for example, for me, I went through my whole life. I did a bit of an audit of my life. I looked at the areas that were lacking and those areas that were strong. So the areas that were strong, I kind of put on MED, minimum effective dose, just maintenance. Let's keep them just ticking along. The areas that were weak, I was like, cool, what can I do every day, every week, and every month to improve them? So one of the things was, connection was something I was really missing. So I made sure that I got in the diary, time to see my mum and sister, time to see my old school friends. Once a month I go and travel. Basically, all my internet friends live in fucking Narnia, for want of a better phrase. They all live all over the place. So I say to myself, every week I'm going to go see mum. Every 2 weeks we now play badminton. This is showing our age. Play badminton with boys. So we play badminton, but I would do that. And then once a month I would go and visit a friend somewhere. So I do that. A walk a day for me is a non-negotiable, non-negotiable. I've even got wet weather, kind of like overall type things I can wear. Like if it's pissed, every day I go for a walk with music on. It makes me happy. The gym 3 times a week. I do offer more than that, but it's minimum non-negotiable. These are all things that I do. Reading, non-negotiable. Doing educational stuff, non-negotiable. I just put them into my diary. Now, yes, it's easier for me because I haven't got certain things. So you might, if you got kids or commitments or things, then you're going to have to be realistic, and you might have to let something go. I'll get up a little bit earlier, a bit later, or whatever. But for me, it has been routine, and the fact is, I do this every time I kind of feel a little bit out of sorts, or as my friend Tage would say, some type of way. I sit down, I do another life and business audit. I go through everything really practically. Okay, cool. Let's look at this. Let's look at that. Let's take things really structured. And then I put a plan in place. And then what I do generally takes about 2 or 3 hours. I then program my phone. So I put my phone, I ignore the calendar months. I don't, I used to do it when I was a personal trainer as well. So I used to work in, cycles, and it was like every 4 weeks. We just do 4-week cycles. It's nice and simple. It's easy programming. So I know there's things I do daily that keep me on track, things that I do weekly that are on track, and monthly that are on track. For example, I could do all the training and the reading, all that kind of stuff. But if I don't, it sounds late, like I love my mum and sister to bits. And it's only us, since dad's gone, we've got even closer still. But I said to mum, if I have it in the diary, then I program my phone is a tool now. I used to feel trapped by a mobile phone. Now my phone is a tool that serves me. My phone then tells me what to do, and I will run it through my team. I'll talk to mum and Anna about it. I'll talk to my friend, and I'll basically once I've done it, I'll just make sure, is this right?
Yeah.
Am I missing? And I would say to Sarah, who's my assistant, I'll say, am I missing anything, Sarah? Is there something there that I'm not doing? And because she's known me for like 7 years, she goes, yeah, you've forgotten that. Cool, pop it in. So honestly, resilience can be trained, and it comes from discipline and routine.
Yeah, and boundaries by the sound of it.
Yeah, that's something that, I never, ever want to hurt anyone or make anyone feel bad but people, look, one thing I've learned is that people are just, I've just moved my camera. People are silly, okay? People are weird. Humans are bizarre. They're fucking weird. 1 minute, this person's doing that, and then they do something. Have you seen the things we do for fun? The amount of effort people make to rub their midsection against someone else. Nonsense. Have you ever just taken a pause and had a look and think, what am I doing?
Oh, I don't want to examine it. It'd be some sort of existential crisis.
You should. And it's like, what are we doing with our lives? What are we doing? It's fun, obviously. I'm just being silly for the sake of this podcast. But I've realized that people often do what's best for them. So if they want to tell you to fuck off, if they block you, if they don't want to talk to you anymore, that's a reaction to obviously maybe your interaction with them, and that's their choice. So if anyone wants to do something, if they are an asshole to me, or if they disappear, or if they say something weird, now I just take a pause, and this is kind of one of the things, I don't react like I used to. I take a pause and go, okay, why might that person be doing that? Is there anything I've done that could have precipitated that response? Or, often like I have avoided so many confrontations with online or kind of when discussions by just saying, are you okay? I would often say, before I say what I want to say, are you all right? Have you had a bad day?
Yeah.
You okay? And often that is just a little tip. I can't remember where I heard from. It just diffuses a lot of things. Just since the pandemic, people have gone a little bit special. And I just understand that we all deal with things in our own way. Yeah. So for me, I'm a deleter. And what do I mean by that is in like, if somebody chooses to no longer communicate, that's fine, but I just delete. And it's not like a fuck you delete. It's like, cool. I always leave a communication channel open. It's like, cool, you go do you, wish you the best. And I just let go. Anything I can't control, I just let go of now.
Yeah.
And I say that's really helpful for resilience. Some things you just can't change. I can't get my dad back. Okay. And I love my dad. And if anyone's, not familiar with me and my dad, used to call him the goat. stands for greatest of all time. It's an American thing, but and he loved it. He's never really had a nickname, and he loved it, and he was known as the GOAT, and he used to come on all my lives and stuff, and in the car with him and that, and he was fun.
It's like the little emoji, the goat emoji.
Yeah. So he was always, he's a big part of, nothing. Obviously, love my mum and sister, but he was a cool dad. So I could either be consistently sad about that, and a lot of people would say, we all deal with bereavement in a different way, but I choose the reframe of I've got people who've had horrible dads, been hurt by their dads, never met their dads. I had 40 years of an epic dad. So I feel very grateful for that. And gratitude is also a big part of it as well. So for me, again, this is obviously broad resilience things. If I ever feel a little bit, and this especially if anyone listening who's doing well, if you're kind of doing above average, things are going well, maybe you've got a few more pennies in your pocket, successful, whatever. And for those of you who are not there yet, if you keep going, you probably get there eventually. Most people, if they keep going, we're all different speeds, but you'll get there. There will be a point where you think, well, I shouldn't complain. I should just shut up. I'm not allowed to feel stressed or angry or upset or sad because I have things. I have assets. I have some pennies. I have some freedom, whatever. And I am so fucking grateful for what I have. It took me a long, 7+ years to get here, but I do not regret it. And now I'm enjoying the rewards of the work that I did then. Same as I am like with my sort of health and fitness now. That was 2 years ago I started doing that, and it's now the rewards I'm enjoying every day now. So one of the things that I will sorry, I've gone off on a tangent. What was I saying? I've done so well. I haven't done this once at all. This is the first one. What was my point? I am so sorry. What was I saying?
You're talking about resilience.
Yeah. And why did I start talking about that element? Yes, I remember. This is my other little thing. Sorry, yes, I got there. Got it. So for me, something that my very, very first coach said is when you feel shit or feel a bit down or life feels battering you in some way, turn your direction into helping someone else. So turn your direction. So it's dead. If you've got a skill or an asset, you can go online, post, say, hey, I've got an hour free. Who needs some help with their mindset, their copy, their nutrition, whatever. But for me, one of the things I do is where I live, not far from me on the little walk. I do a lot of sort of charity work when I can. With the launches, we do always give percentages away, and we did a launch recently solely for charity. One of the things I do is there's in the city where I live, there's homeless people. It's common, and I do a lot of I've got the little lap. I've got the same people I see all the time, and I chat to them and I help them bring them food and stuff. But if I immediately feel a bit worries me, I go and help someone else, whether it's online or I go out there and say, right, what can I do for you? Can I put you up for a night somewhere? Do you need some food? What can I do?
Yeah.
So helping others is a really good way to get yourself ahead.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot of good advice there.
Yeah. That's my only pause as well. Sorry about that to anyone listening. I've done so well staying on track, and I went off on a tangent. And I'm like, I don't know where I've got to. Where am I?
We like the tangents. It's fine.
Okay.
So it seems like right now, sort of, like you say, everything is coming together. So like physically with your health, and mentally and emotionally and all that kind of stuff. So you're kind of becoming the full package.
Yeah. No, I feel very happy, like I said, but none of this was quick. It took time, had to find what worked for me. Haley actually had the joys of teaching me, we could call it one pan Dan. Trying to teach you for simplicity. And I like cooking. I'm a decent cook, but for me, the way my brain works is, I can create a really good meal or dish, but I've just created fucking carnage in the kitchen. My brain, you've seen what it's like, but it's not me being deliberately messy or lazy. It's just, and then I think I'll make a nice meal and I'll look at my sink and I'll be like, oh, for fuck's sake, I've got to do that. So for me, the solution that I found was a high quality meal prep company that delivered most of my macros, that still gave me time to cook a nice meal if I wanted to. But it's a case of it's like my minimum effective dose. I've got my bases covered. And even if I just go into the fridge, grab those, eat those, I know I'm on track.
Yeah.
But when I can't be here and I'm traveling, we used, what was it, Nutri? Were you that introduced me to NutriCheck?
Yeah, NutriCheck, because it was more, because you were eating out a lot of the time. There's more English restaurants and stuff on there, isn't there? So we use that.
I know the sort of level to stay what I am. And do you know what? I don't really, I used it quite a lot with you. So I kind of know what I need to do. So when I'm traveling and stuff, it's dead simple, Like the other day, I was in a hotel for the wedding, and I was like, right, looked at the menu. It's a nice menu. Had a Marco Pierre White restaurant. So I thought, oh, this would be nice food. And I thought, right, is the burger and chips or the sirloin steak and salad going to have more calories? I said, I think I can probably figure that one out. And then I was like, right. And I did want something sweet. I always like to finish with a sweet. And I was like, does the ice cream or the ice cream or the brownie have more calories, or the sorbet? Like, again, I wasn't denying myself. I was just enjoying my food. And I felt, I don't know what it was, but give or take, I'm probably on track. So that's the kind of decisions I make now. Whereas previously, I was with our mutual friend, Damien. He's a big boy, but strong, big, powerful. He's
like a unit.
He's so strong. He's so strong, but he's so much muscle, and he can eat more than me as well.
Yeah.
He'd had and my rule of thing I would always have if you're in a hotel, because I never have an English breakfast. It's not something I do. He's like, do you want to meet for breakfast? And I was like, yeah, I do. But I know me and a breakfast buffet is not a fan. And then there was at the wedding the day before, it was very buffet style. And I ate, I think 14 pieces of Battenberg cake. So I can't be trusted. Yeah, I know. I saw it. It's from my childhood, and I was like, they weren't fucking great big slices. They're about like 2-inch square, and I had a piece, and I was like, wow, these are all Dan's now. Then I just put them all on my plate, and I'm like, there's none for anyone else. I don't care. What have we learned about buffets today?
Yeah, buffets are. I think anyone finds it difficult to control themselves around a buffet, really.
Yeah, for me, this may not be, especially if you've got, kids and little ones. I know they love their snacks and stuff, but one of the things that's worked really well for me is I just don't have anything unhealthy in the house.
Yeah, it's literally more an avoidance.
There's nothing in here, and I've deleted all. There's just a little thing that I've also deleted all of the delivery apps off my phone, and I use my laptop. So if I want something in, I have to go in, I have to sign in, I have to put in the password. It's nothing saved. I've deliberately made it a little bit more of a ball ache.
Yeah.
And there's a part, but my main thing is if I really want something, I have to go and get it. I have to go foraging. So it stops me doing it. So
it's a bit of space between the trigger and the action, doesn't it? To stop that impulsivity.
Just a little tip that's worked for me. I just don't literally, there is nothing in my house bar the meal prep, some protein bars, some dried fruit and some nuts, and that's it. So if I wake up, I used to have this terrible thing that I used to do. Like there was some snacks, and when my mum, dad, and sister moved in with me during the pandemic for a little bit, because they were moving house, so they'd have all their snacks, and I'd be like, it's like there's this little goblin that wakes me up at 2 a.m. and go, there's a Mars bar out there. And my mum once heard something, she used to live with me, and I just fucking inhaled 4 Mars bars at 2 a.m. I'm like, what am I doing? So yeah.
Your mum is great at snacks, though.
She's. Do you know what? I'm actually really proud of my mum on this one, because I said to her, like, again, prefix, love at any site. You can be what you want. Okay, but I used to. My mum would buy snacks. I was like, Mum, do you want grandkids one day? Then maybe stop making me turn into a meatball. Like seriously. So my mum has been absolutely brilliant, because I've been slaying to her. I said, I know you're a feeder and you love to show your love with food. But, and again, this might be useful for some people there, but I took the time to educate my mum and just say, right, this is what these are. So now when I go round, there's packs of chicken, there's packs of ham, there's fresh fruit. If she's bought, low calorie things, she still thinks, for example, she thinks like low fat is good, which is cool. I'm like, okay, I'm like, okay with that. That's okay. Yeah. But like, she'll get like sugar-free things. There's only sugar-free drinks in the house. She's really tried. And I think sometimes we get sabotaged, not in a bad way, by like partners and loved ones. But I took the time to say, I love you, Mum. But I would turn up on my bike to go see Mum and sister, and there would literally be, I'd have a little backpack. It's like a 15-litre, just a small backpack that you wear on a bike. And it would be full of stuff. And there'd be like cans of pop. There would be donuts. There'd be cakes. There'd be meat. And I'd be like, I'd get home and I'd say, right, I'm going to put that away. Would I fucking snorting it as soon as I got in.
Get rid of it quickly.
Yeah, that was it. I better get rid of all these snacks. So yeah, that's another tangent there for everyone listening.
So my final question, as we bring things to a close, that I like to ask everybody, Have you got any advice, or what is your best bit of advice for someone who may be currently in that kind of either starting their business or in that period of like, I must work 20 fucking hours on my business? Is, you know, in hindsight, knowing what you know about your health and how your business affected it, is there a piece of advice you'd like to give people in that situation?
Yeah, I don't sugarcoat shit. If you want success, you're probably going to have to choke on a bag of dicks for a while. Like, you are going to have to, like, seriously, so think about it this way. If you can, you know, if you want to get to where you want to be, it's going to take hard work, and you can condense that hard work like I did, or you can spread it out over time. It's your choice. You decide what level you want to play at. Okay. That's something you got to decide. What would I have done if I, you know, would I have gone to bed earlier and got up later? No, because I needed that time to do the work. But what would I have done is I would have definitely been mindful of my caffeine intake. Okay. I'd have optimized my sleep to make sure the sleep that I did have was as good as it could get. I would have factored in a little more personal and downtime, but I think the key thing I would have done is I would have worked out, what do I need to eat to keep me fueled and going for that period of time? And I would have found time to either get like a meal prep solution, or I'd have meal prep myself, or found a way to do it so that I didn't have to think. So I would say, if you can find a way to prep your food, get what you need ready, so the less thinking you have to do, so less you have to worry. I mean, I saw a meme about this. It's like, you know, being a grown-up is just figuring out what you're having for dinner every day until the day you die. Okay. And it is a pain, you know, it is a pain in the ass. But I think if you can make your life simple, if you can make it easy, if you can, you know, I thrive on probably being a bit boring, as I mean, I can eat the same things day in, day out, every day, with an evening off to kind of be free, go out for dinners, maybe make something, you know, if I was with my partner at the time, you know, make something together, go for a nice date night or something like that. But I would say, you know, make it simple. So literally make it simple for you to succeed. I would say, you know, I would say that would be a great place to start. And also be aware of your triggers. So, for example, I was an emotional eater. If I got stressed, I'd eat. If I got happy, I'd eat. You know, it was my thing. It's quite common. So I will say is being mindful of those triggers and maybe working out why that pisses you off, what you can do about it, and maybe think of other ways of doing it, other ways of addressing it without having to resort to snorting a million cakes.
That's those kind of alternative coping mechanisms. So you're kind of doing that to sort of fill a hole.
And that's it. You know, it was alcohol as well with me. It was just kind of, that was, so that's what I would change. You know, I wouldn't, you know, I stand by the effort I put in, and I say, if you want to achieve something of merit or of note, it takes time and it takes work, and it takes more than you probably imagine, both time and work. But the thing, you know, I wouldn't change that, and I don't regret it, and I stick by what I did to get to where I am. But I would have fueled myself better and looked at better coping mechanisms than the ones that I had at the time. And I would have addressed the underlying concerns sooner. So a bit of a roundabout one there, but I hope that was what you're after.
No, that's awesome. It's realistic and pragmatic advice. So it wasn't online guru-ish of like, just until you die. Otherwise, you don't want it enough.
Yeah, well, it's fucking bullshit, isn't it? Honestly, absolute nonsense.
That is awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's been really fun. So and you can find Coffee with Dan and stuff. I will put the links in the show notes. So go join if you're not already a member. If you're a business owner, you need to be in there because there's lots of really cool people and advice. And I also put a link to Dan's book, How to Be Fucking Awesome, in the show notes too. So thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. Hope that made sense at some point.
It was amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you to everyone else for listening. And until next week, please take care of yourselves.